Director General UNOG, Mrs. Valovaya, newly appointed Secretary General of ITU, Mrs. Bogdan Martin, Excellencies, honorable guests, FerMUN board members, dear participants, welcome to the 13th session of FerMUN 2023. On behalf of all FerMUN members, I would like to start by thanking the people who have made these 3 days possible, especially Mrs. Vellucci, Directors of the Information Service at the Palais des Nations, and Mrs. Perrin, Head of Communication Office at WMO. I'd also like to take a moment and thank the speakers who are making this conference and opening ceremony special, especially for our graduating class. For this, I thank Mrs. Valovaya, Director General of UNOG, for her speech, Mrs. Bogdan Martin, Secretary General of ITU, our congratulations on the new appointment, Professor Petri Talis of WMO, Dr. Jan Stander, Director of Services Department of WMO, and Sebastian Benfield, one of the 2022 Young Activists. Moreover, we also have a privilege to welcome ambassadors from 20 countries who are here to represent the 36 schools we are hosting. Lastly, I'd like to thank the Board of FerMUN, and especially our directors, Mrs. Baudry, Mr. Launay, Mrs. Zori, Mr. Ackroyd, and Mr. Konyaski. The FerMUN board members debated to find a title for today's conference and decided to name this session the Youth Climate Cup. Not only does climate remain a controversial topic today, but it is equally fitting as we are cooperating with the WMO. Climate change has been much debated the past 50 years, and even after all those years, measurable action is still sorely needed. I'm not here to tell you, DG, SG, Excellencies, dear guests, what to do. Like my fellow students, I'm not a climate expert, the president of a country, or an official representative. But I find it appropriate to quote Kofi Annan, "You are never too young to lead, and you should never doubt your capacity to triumph when others have failed." I would like my fellow students in this room to embody this principle during the next few days. We are not here to repeat speeches, promises, and written reports that are gathering dust in some cupboards. Today, we must ask ourselves, can we make a change? We might echo propositions which have already been discussed for hours during many conferences, but one sentence, one idea on our final report could be a trigger to a tiny change which will bring big outcomes. We are going to tackle 14 complex issues in which communication, and especially listening to understand and not to answer, will be key to a successful outcome. Sir David Attenborough, who received a Lifetime Achievement Laureate of the United Nations Environment Programme, stated during his speech at COP26, "We know what the problems are, and we know how to solve them. All we need is unified action." Bringing these words to life and triggering unified action is our challenge and a huge honor. The pleasure to do so in person is even greater. These 3 years of COVID have demonstrated how we can adapt and overcome crisis, building up our resilience and focusing our energy on a better tomorrow. Having prepared for months, we are already a team, so let's put our efforts together and use our newly built community to ensure outstanding results. FerMUN 2023 already holds a special place in our hearts. Let's make the next 3 days worth it. Thank you.